Thanks for tuning in and welcome to Marketing Bites, Restaurant Growth Unwrapped. I'm your host, Brian Siemienas, the Vice President of Restaurant Solutions for Nift. Today, I welcome our guest, Troy Hooper, CEO of Hot Palate America. Welcome, Troy.
Hey, glad to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. So you have a very interesting career path. You've founded two big companies, first CEO for Kiwi Hospitality Partners for 15 years with a focus on hotels, resorts, golf clubs, and restaurants. And then you ended up founding the Kiwi Restaurant Partners, which you're currently at. So can you walk us through your endeavors in these two paths?
Yeah, I started my career in fine dining and finer resorts and hotels, and took the management side of the career path after being a chef for about 6 years, and ended up in a scenario where I got to be on some really winning teams and do some new development and some new turnarounds of old assets into new assets, and that really set me on a path of sort of this turnaround asset management, and ended up founding Kiwi Hospitality Partners, which was exactly that, a team that helped go into distressed or failing assets on both, like you said, hotels, resorts, private clubs, golf clubs, and restaurant groups, and helping basically manage those out of whatever scenario they were into a winning situation. And so we would do that on about an 18 to 24 month cadence for each project, and did that for about 15 years, and ultimately saw who is now my business partner, Mark Bailey, having a whole lot of fun in the QSR fast casual emerging brand space. He was basically taking founders and investment groups and helping them scale emerging brands, predominantly through the franchise system business. But he was just having so much fun, and I got a chance to go help him on a couple of projects and see up close sort of what that was all about. And toxic, failing, distressed, problematic child turnaround versus new and fun and free and having a good time and mission driven and founder led. And I was like, boy, that seems like a lot of fun. So we created a division called Kiwi Restaurant Partners. And it didn't take long for me to sunset that long-time management business and really focus as a group and build the team around emerging brand scaling. And so that's how Kiwi Restaurants came about. And then ultimately, Pepper Lunch came calling. Hot Palate America, Hot Palate Global came calling and said, hey, we think we need some help from a consulting group like yours. But very quickly, we realized there was a great match there and an opportunity for our team to really lead the North American development of this brand, but also contribute to the global sort of redevelopment of the brand and relaunching of the brand on a global scale. And so they very quickly asked us to come on full time. So essentially asked us to sunset the rest of our customers and clients, and that took over a year, but to really focus on Pepper Lunch exclusively. And that's what we've been doing for about the last almost 20 months. Really full team dedication to the Pepper Lunch project, and really having a lot of fun with it. And it's a fun, cool brand to get out there.
Yeah, so much like yourself, having been in the space for 20 plus years, what I love and find interesting today about talking with you is I worked with Hard Rock International, Darden International, and forever it was always the U.S. brands going out internationally. And what I loved was even at Olive Garden, how much do you need to tweak or flex that menu? In some countries it was 60% core you could keep. Maybe it was less spice, more, less acidic in the marinara. But what's interesting, as you're seeing recently, is the international brands now starting to come to the U.S. And Pepper Lunch obviously was founded in Tokyo in 1994, first came to the U.S. in 2018. And while there's currently over 500 outlets in 15 different countries, you've got 6 in the U.S. What did the brand have to do, and is there anything they're still having to do with flexing, or did it just resonate and you left the brand exactly as it is in Tokyo?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. I love that. The current 6 stores is really 2 franchisees. One has 5, one has 1. The one is in Guam, so that leans a little bit more towards the APAC Asia, really closer to the Japan style system. But the 5 here in the U.S., it was initially a master franchise agreement that then was evolved into us coming in as the brand and sort of taking ownership of North America. And so, everywhere in the country, I'll tell you what our system is. Everywhere in the world, about 20% of the menu is localized. So doesn't mean that we go somewhere, let's say we're not in India and we go to India and we start doing India dishes or flavors or whatever. No, we are really exporting the Japanese recipe and concept and food, design. With that being said, especially in Asia, most Asian countries have some similarities, right? How they treat
Mhm.
different ingredients, but the flavor profile, like you say, or the sauce, or in Korea and in Indonesia, it's a lot more cheese. They put more sauce and more cheese on things, right? So we have dishes that lean that direction. To the recipe, there is some flex on some of like the sauces, like the saltiness in the U.S. versus elsewhere, or the spice level, right, or the herbaceous level of a sauce or whatnot. Definitely some tweaking that has to happen. It's really cool that in the U.S., when they came to the U.S., they opened in Asian communities first, and so they were able to keep it very, very close to the Japan and the rest of the Asia menu profile. A couple of differences is that they put large steaks, real steaks, whole steaks on the menu, whereas in Asia we might have one or two and they're smaller. Here they kind of went with the American steakhouse sort of, I'm going to give you a 16-ounce ribeye, or a 12-ounce New York strip. So that's a little different for us. We recently revamped the menu to really rethink in modern times. It's been 7 years since they really started to think about this here in the U.S. And we reduced the number of steaks, but we kept the steaks. And we really just thought about some of those flavor profiles and really dialed them in, refined them, really talked to the customer, really worked with the employees in the group to talk about what people like and what they might like to see be a little different. So I'd say we just refined it. We didn't really change it. We haven't actually taken the liberty that, most countries have taken this sort of 20% of the menu liberty. We just don't know yet in the US what those liberties need to be. One thing I did kill on arrival was the question of, should we add mashed potatoes and broccoli? Okay, it's not 1992, right? Like, or 88, like mashed potatoes and broccoli aren't really the current steakhouse menu profile, right? So we're being really cautious. I really want the American market in the US and Canada, and then later beyond throughout Central and South America. I really want them to experience the true nature of this brand, because it in and of itself is fantastic. And it is exactly what we do in Japan. Again, portion size might be different, and maybe some of the side dishes or accompaniments are a little different, but for the most part, we're really staying true to that core product.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about the portion size and doing the reverse. It was always, we knew we could take our lunch portion or cut it in half, and they still viewed it as obnoxious in
Yeah,
many of the
yeah,
countries. So you're in the reverse aspect of
yeah. Our
that.
beef
And
pepper rice here is a lot bigger than it is in Asia, and we do a jumbo and they do a jumbo, but we're a lot bigger for sure. Yeah, the perception of value is different for sure.
yeah, no, I love the topic. And again, at Darden, I had a phenomenal culinary gentleman named Abe who was just brilliant as we tried to take the brands in different areas. The challenge in the Middle East, trying to, when you realize how many sauces for Bahama Breeze at the time had alcohol in it, and as we know, the legality there. But, from the complexity for those who don't understand it the way we do, I always say, okay, when you go to the world of Coke, which comes to mind, there's a reason why there's 50 or 100 plus different flavors of the same Coca-Cola because
Yeah.
of those variations and,
Well, if you
just
ever
being so
go to
critical.
Japan, just all you have to do is go to a candy shop or 7-Eleven and see how many Kit Kat flavors there are. It's like, what? How can that even be a Kit Kat flavor? And they do it. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yep. Love my green tea. I was happy when you could get them in certain places in the
Yeah.
U.S. So you talked about your two franchisees that you have. What is the planned development, and how big do you see the U.S. market?
Yeah. So we think ultimately, and this is our conservative belief, and what we've planned for is 600 units in the United States over about 10 years. We are doing okay on pace. We're in that ramp up pace today. We have 70 units sold to 7 franchise partners, so averaging 10 units per. But we actually just signed breaking news. Won't say who yet. Announcement coming soon, but breaking news. We have a 20 unit deal that we signed on Friday. And we're beginning the process of onboarding them. It's a famous family in the industry that has 3 other brands in their system. And we're really excited about that. But most of our franchisees have 5 to 10 unit deals in various markets across the U.S. We're from Florida to the West Coast. We're still looking to grow and offer partnerships in Texas and the Midwest and things like that. But right now we're really focused on doing a great job to onboard and support those, and continue to vet and have conversations with potential franchisee partners. We only do multi-unit deals, minimum of 5 stores, all fees up front. And you got to build all 5 within 3 years or 10 within 6 years. And we're looking for market owners, people that are familiar and experienced in those markets. Generally, they're an existing multi-unit. But a couple of our groups are actually investors. They're a conglomerate of 3 to 5 people who have all got great histories in the industry and work for other people, kind of like yourself, and said, "Look, I want on this train. I want to do this." And so they've come together and created a group. And so collectively, certainly they have the chops, and we believe in them. And so just because they didn't currently have existing stores didn't mean we weren't interested. We're just looking for folks that are going to execute well and believe in the brand. And we're really fortunate. All of them so far have a love and an affinity for the brand coming in. And so it's made it pretty easy to talk about the business value proposition as well. But today we expect to open those 70 stores in less than 5 years. Right now, it's slated at a 4-year plan, as long as real estate and other macroeconomic situations allow for it. But they're all committed. They're moving quickly. We have 4 stores that are going to open between Thanksgiving and the end of January. So that's where we're really focused right now, is helping and making sure we do a great job of supporting those first openings, because it's the new prototype and the new kitchen operating system and all that kind of stuff that we have to all build the plane while we fly it together.
Well, I'll give you kudos on that, because throughout my career, you said through January, normally it was always by the end of the fiscal year, which was destroying the training team's holidays, because obviously everything jammed together and you had 4 simultaneous.
Training team's going to have 30th. Thanksgiving at Pepper Lunch this year, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So as I prepped for our discussion today, one of the items that appears with the brand to be very popular is your low labor operating model and simple operations. Has it always been this way, or how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, for folks in the restaurant industry, our 3 out of 5 top performing stores are 209 square feet, and they do over 700 covers a day, every single day, 7 days a week. Now, for those who are not as familiar with the numbers in the restaurant industry, and I think a lot of people in the business probably don't even know this, in the United States, an average fast casual concept to casual is happy to do 350 to 380 covers a day. You crack 380 or more in plates a day, you're pretty happy. The business model probably works, right? So in that small footprint with 3 to max 4 humans, we're doing more than double the average, right? In the United States, we're averaging the high 300s, low 400s in cover count, and we're running those with 5 to 7 humans. And we have one store just 3 million, and it's running with 7 or 8 people, but it's a little overstaffed to make sure that the turnover is really fast and really high quality. But really, we actually run these stores on average with 4 to 5 people per shift, and that's at peak. You're opening it with 2 people. You're pre-opening with 1, opening with 2. You're running the first hour with 2 to 3. You're running peak with 4, max 5 people, and then you're fading it out after the peak wanes off at 1:30 or 2 o'clock. So, as a cadence of the day, we're really running on average with 4 humans, which really reduces your total labor cost. And to your point, Brian, I'll add to that we also have a no skilled labor. What that means is we don't have to hire prep cooks, line cooks, chefs, sous chefs, kitchen managers. We don't even really actually have GMs. So our price or cost per hour on the labor hour is much lower than most. And actually, most people think that means we're trying to get away cheap. The reality is that we actually pay, on average, $3 more an hour than the starting wage of any other fast casual restaurant, because we can. Because our margins are in such good shape, we actually can reinvest in the quality of the ingredients and in the quality of an amount of training, and in really investing in the employee, not only in the hourly basis, but in benefits and training and upskilling, et cetera. So we're really proud of this model, but this is the global business model that works. Actually, the U.S. has more people than any other probably, but we have a couple stores in Singapore that they're big format stores, and so we have a couple extra folks out front in the dining room supporting that. But yeah, it's a cool model, and we're making one transition I'll share with you here very soon, which is we're transitioning from across the counter cashier transactional relationship. We're turning that person into what we call a hospitality host. You might think of it as a greeter. We want to take greeting to another level. We want to segment our customer from experienced guest who's been here before to first timer who wants and needs more of an introduction and explanation of our brand and offering. And we're going to a full digital kiosk model. So a standing 22-inch lean back, Samsung screen kiosk. And so we're going to have an opportunity to be a little bit more educational, a little more vibrant, a little more communicative. Certainly upselling will be improved in that regard. But we want to take the human and make them more human. If you've ever been to Asia, especially Japan, hospitality is the culture. Every human wants to spread the culture, love, and hospitality of that country. And so we want to really emulate that here in not only the U.S., but really across the globe. We want to emulate that with this new service model.
Yeah, certainly being founded in Tokyo, and as you mentioned, Singapore, I always joke because we had big presence when I was at Hard Rock at both. The cost of real estate and rent would give a normal restaurant operator a coronary here in the U.S.
Yeah,
so,
it's
you almost are forced, and that was one of the big things at both Hard Rock and then at Darden. We would joke with the domestic development team that we had restaurants the size of the kitchens just in the U.S. alone. So, certainly that's one of the attributes I'm sure
we
your
have restaurants
franchisees are happy
with. Bathroom. Lazy Dog's bathroom here in Oxnard, California is a little bit bigger than our entire restaurant in some of these food halls, for sure.
Yeah. Now, as far as this plan, obviously inheriting it from the international operations, were there any tweaks or anything you had to do? Obviously, 3 of your locations are in California. Did that have any impact, or were you already down that path before it became relevant on the wages?
we were ahead of it, and it did not affect us. This franchisee had to raise his wages. So, minimum wage was at $15.50 in the different, cities or county pieces of where his stores were. And, so he was paying $17.70, $18 an hour. So like I said, $2 to $3 more an hour than minimum wage starting. And certainly he had employees in the, $20, $21 range. Well, minimum wage inside of a 4-month notice period went to $20. And I don't care what anybody says, it didn't go to $20 for McDonald's. It went to $20 because a 50-cent increase on an annual basis, a dollar increase on an annual basis is something that an employee won't jump ship for. They want something, but they don't have to be made whole necessarily to stay. A $3 to $5, depending on the market you were in, a $3 to $5 increase, huge, right? I think it was $4 sort of at the high end. Now that's something somebody's going to leave you for, right? They're going to go down the street. And even if they don't like the place and it's not whatever, they don't care. That's a lot of money. And so we had to raise our wages. And so we still wanted to stay ahead of market, and we did. And so he had to do that. And it did coincidentally, thankfully, we were ready. We had not been taking price as everybody else had done. We've only gone up 9% in 2.5, maybe 3 years. Wow. And so where a lot of folks are in the 20s, right? They're in the high teens and 20s for sure. I think the average was 26.5% across QSR fast casual. And so we were at an inflection point with the menu change, the update to the menu. We were actually going to take a small 2.8 to 3.2% price increase. And so we were able to do all of that at once. We were able to increase wages, take a small price increase, but we had also just finished negotiating our national supply chain in the US, which actually lowered our franchisees' cost about 2.3%. So 2.3 points, right? So we took his food cost from 25 or 26 to 2.3 points down. We increased the price on the menu an average of 3%, and therefore that absorbing that was not as difficult. Most people couldn't do that. They had already maxed out price. Consumer was already pulling back. They might have been paying minimum wage. Our delta was a lot smaller because we were already at 17 to go to 20, 17.70, $18 to go to 20. They were at 15.50 to go to 20. And so smaller delta to make up, good timing on the supply chain rollout, new menu rollout, good timing on a little bit of a price increase. It wasn't as painful, but I'm going to tell you, it didn't feel good at all. And it's done, and we've dealt with it, and we're still growing. Being part of an emerging brand always has that sort of fluff on top that people love the exciting new thing. But we're not sitting here opening new stores at mass yet. And so we actually have same store sales growth year over year, although it be single small digits. A lot of restaurants can't say that. A lot of brands at scale can't say that. So we're really proud of all of that sort of coming together.
Yep. So you certainly were able to help your franchisees on a P&L standpoint with the savings that you just mentioned. And it sounds like, given your minimal price increases, certainly one of the hot button issues in the industry is value. And the consumers have said, I've had enough. It sounds like you didn't go nearly as far because, to your point, somewhere in the 30s almost, but the industry as a whole was higher.
Yeah,
how have you been impacted
We have a
by that
unique
demand?
value set prop set here, though, that our portions are pretty generous overall, right? It's hot, fresh, clean food. I mean, we add salt and pepper. We have a kind of a garlic margarine that is not bad for you. And unless you order one of our fried items, which there's very few to choose from, you're just getting kind of clean, healthier for you protein rice and veg, protein pasta and veg. It's a well-balanced meal. You're getting a nice volume. It's hot. It's fresh. You cook it to your flavor liking. So the value proposition for us already is very high. Certainly there's the niche, unique, cultural offering. But if you already are aware of and like this kind of food, our value prop compared to other options in the Asian food is just higher. You're in and out in 25 minutes for under $20 on average. So, that's a little bit of an advantage we have just in our menu and brand design.
Okay, so you mentioned, obviously, smaller brand right now with growth planned. And as we look at the consumers today, just being bombarded by messaging, trying to get them into your restaurants, what's your marketing approach with where you are today, and what's working for you?
Well, we've got the sizzle that others don't have. Yeah, and I mean that literally, right? 500-degree hot plate steaming. You got all the sensories, aspects involved with sight, sound, smell. Beautiful visuals, amazing flavors. Right? Make it your own way. You can customize your dish. So there's some really unique value props there that are attractive. So we're very visual with our marketing. We're really fully digital. And I say that on the B2B side, we've done the trades and we've done the 2-page spreads, and that's not our consumer driven model. As we move into consumer marketing at scale over the next few months to support these new stores, it is 100% digitally native. We'll be moving to an influencer focused content creation. So really UGC influencer core created product. We want the customer and the customer like creators that resonate, that live in that demographic, to talk about our brand. Brands talking about brands don't always do a very good job, right? What is the value proposition? For us, 50% of our current U.S. customer base is under 30 years old. That's crazy. That gives us a lot of liberty. We can be very playful. We can develop a brand voice and image and style in a lot of directions, and we can be a lot of things to a lot of people. So we have a lot of open white space to discover there, and we're very open-minded to what that is. There really is no real cohesive brand voice that's been developed, especially for North America. So we're still going to iterate and still play and guess and see what works. And then you just take what works and what's resonated and what's getting traction and engagement, and then you just press the gas on that. That's where you spend money and you proliferate that. But we're going to be highly contextual as well. One thing I've promised our franchise partners is their 2% marketing fund contribution is going to be redeployed to drive feet in the store, period. Right? We're not out here taking billboards in Times Square. Not that we don't ever do something like that. If it makes sense, it makes sense. But it's probably going to be to support the store that's in Times Square, right? Like, my philosophy is the better my franchisees do, the better this brand does, right? It's inextricably a direct line of success. If you make more money, I make more money. If you make more money, we have more resources to do more things that are supportive. So we're really going to be hyper contextualized to the micro markets. We really want to enter these markets in a strong way. So very aggressive local PR and marketing and community-based hand-to-hand, face-to-face type direct relationship building. Influencers in that market, that know that demographic, that understand and appreciate our food and can tell our story in their own way. And then, of course, the brand's going to do the brand. We're always still going to create stuff and put it out there. But we're really close to the consumer and getting closer every day so that we understand what matters to them. And we're going to be willing to pivot. That's the end of the story. You have to be flexible. The marketing is these days, you used to say like once a week. I'm wondering, it's almost daily in some cases, but it's definitely pretty frequent. I'll say that. There's a lot of moving parts and platforms and things that are working with algorithms. So got to be
as you talk about platforms, and even though you're in the infancy in North America, from a number of unit standpoint, you've got the big 500 plus gorilla behind you internationally. When it comes to your tech stack for North America, how much were you able to use of what was already there? Because obviously a 6 restaurant chain in the US would be pretty novice where it is, but you've got those learnings. How much were you able to use? How much did you have to adjust or are going to have to adjust?
We were able to use 7 shifts. So, no, look, we came to the brand and to reiterate a little bit more clearly, I haven't said it too overtly out in the market. We were grown by the parent founding group. And by the way, they had the brand for 27 years. They grew it to over 300 locations. Great job. Phenomenal brand. We honor that every day. And we're not out here trying to make change for change's sake. There was no tech stack because we were born and grown through master franchise licenses, which is very common in Asia. So we have one franchisee in Indonesia, Philippines, Taiwan, et cetera, et cetera. And so because of that, we have 26 point of sales. How exciting is that? We have no direct integration, no brand visibility into our franchise network today. Now that's changing, right? So we are building a tech stack for the future. We're building a tech stack for America, but we're also building the same tech stack as much as it's applicable throughout Asia. And actually, Asia has beat us to the punch because they have existing stores they can convert. I only have the 6, which is one franchisee, which we're converting one store at a time here slowly as our test cohort. But in Asia, they're able to make decisions because we own 126 corporate stores in 3 countries. So we have 36 corporate stores in Singapore. We can make a decision to test something, try it, work out the bugs, and then go, right? We can replicate. And so we are building the tech stack today. It is one of the last infrastructure development projects of the last year and a half to come to the table. And so we're going to launch it here in the US in October as our alpha store test environment. But Asia's already way ahead of us. They've already taken some of the things that don't require integrations, like Freets, which is our modern secret shopper at scale, turning consumers and potential customers into large format survey takers and things like that. Momos, which is our listening reputation and sentiment management tool. So we've already started proliferating that throughout multiple countries. But the integrated tech stack is coming to life, but it's robust. It's pretty big. There's a lot of logos on there. But I've spent the last 4 years really focused heavily on learning about the restaurant technology and what's working, what's integrating, who's using what. And over the last 2 years, really focused on the pepper lunch stack that makes sense for our franchisees and making sure they're fully resourced to really build a great system and business that they can scale without a lot of complexity and have a lot of data and information available to them in a way they can digest. So all TBD, but it's coming. And it's robust and it's tried, true, and tested, and it all lays on me. So if it works, Troy. If it doesn't work, Troy. So, and for those that are only listening, that was a thumbs up and a thumbs down emoji, essentially.
Yeah, you bring back memories. And when I joined Darden in 2017, one of the first things was we didn't have nearly the almost 30 POS systems, but we had a couple and needed to get data polling. And I remember going through the system And I kid you not, I won't say where. We actually had a franchise partner that we couldn't integrate with because they were running on a Windows operating system pre Y2K.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, the positive, although my IT guy didn't believe me until he actually saw it, he said the positive is that no one's trying to hack a 1990s Windows program.
Right.
So he felt that
Right.
cybersecurity wise, they were pretty safe. But
Yeah.
I feel for what you're trying to do, having done it and thankfully being successful.
Well, the crazy part is that we're going to install whatever number of logos are on this sketched up piece of paper sitting next to me all at once. You would normally not do that. So over about 6 weeks, we're going to install point of sale, then Restaurant 365. 7 shifts is already there and sort of doesn't have to be, but is integrated. And then plug in all these other things. And the kiosk thing's brand new for us. We're coming out.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming out with a new 4 or 5 new stores in the next 4 months, and it's kiosk, digital menu board, handheld in the hospitality host's hands. No more cashier transaction counter service, thing. So we're doing it all at once. We're gonna launch a new concept store as far as the prototype and operational systems and customer journey system. We're just gonna do it all at once. So it's basically a sink or swim sort of environment. Wish us luck.
Well, I wish you luck on that. And I'm more of I'd rather take the big punch all at once than a bunch of jabs, repeatedly. Yeah. So good luck with that.
We're taking the big swing.
Going for the fences. And then, earlier this year, you launched your own podcast called The Pineapple Perspective. How's that going for you?
It's going great. It's a lot of fun. It's something I've thought about for a long time, probably about 4 years. I'll be honest with you, early in the pandemic, I was like, this is a shot for me to sort of start to put information out there. And I was talking to a lot of these emerging founder groups and trying to help them navigate those waters and just really understanding what, the struggles were on a day-to-day basis. And so I was like, I want to put this out there. And so I started posting on LinkedIn and I kind of created handles around some of the socials. Wasn't super good at really being prolific. Got a lot better at LinkedIn, built that audience, built that relationship there in the industry. And then about 3 years ago, Sean Walchef and the whole digital hospitality crew got close with Chip Close and a few other guys that had their own podcasts. And, just been watching, listening, participating, being a guest. And then really just about timing. And the reality is we got an opportunity with Pepper Lunch earlier this year to really make an investment and say, you know what, Pepper Lunch can participate in this. The story can be integral because if we build in public, both in the digital social realm of LinkedIn and other places, but we also tell stories in podcasts as we talk to leaders in the industry and how they're thinking, what they're doing, what their challenges and opportunities are. We can tie that back to how we're thinking of that and building that at Pepper Lunch. So it made sense. So Pepper Lunch graciously has allowed me to have it be the sponsor of the show. And it's just another avenue for us to tell the story of how we're doing what we're doing and how that relates to how other people are doing it. And maybe similar, it may be the same, and maybe completely different. But that's the contrasting conversation that we have. Pineapple Perspective is all about my belief that every business is in the hospitality business or should be in the hospitality business. We all have the old adage, every business should be in the people business because it is in the people business. I take that another step. I think hospitality is another rung on that ladder. And I think that whether you're a SaaS company or a service company or a consulting company or a widget maker, you really can be in the hospitality business across the board and think about, how you affect the end user and the intermediate, consumer and user implementer. So we just have conversations with leaders about hospitality and what it means to them, what topics and challenges are they facing and attacking today, and how do they see the future from their view in the industry. And, good 35, 45-minute conversation. And it's been a heck of a lot of fun. And I'm just really, really fortunate to have some great connections in the industry to really get some amazing guests on every week. And we're just plugging away at it. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, like yourself, I'm fortunate. Nift has given me the opportunity to do this one. And, what I love about this industry is the stories. There's so many incredible backgrounds. And I always joke that, You can have people, whether it's finance. I had one of my first guests was an NYPD officer, Greg Thomas, who decided to go into the restaurant business. And, it's just so fantastic. And I just actually had Sean as a guest, and, talking to him is so motivating what he's been able to do. And he joked that literally what got him down this path was he was all excited on the 5th anniversary of his location, Cali Barbecue in San Diego. He did the PR, he did all the right things, and
Nobody
said
came.
no one gave a crap. So
Yeah.
he literally had to create that content, and it was a great interview. And he was really what I think one of the first ones that did it, and is just so gracious in helping all of us out. And his view is there's plenty of great content, and joke that maybe a certain episode doesn't get the listener or viewership you want, but that all of them have some segments of something. Wow, that's a great story. That's a great interview.
Yeah, and it's just another way, right? It's just another platform or way to get out different stories, long format, at scale kind of stuff, and it's just all additive. For me, it's always and. It's never or. Should I do a podcast or dig in on TikTok? And the answer is and, right? They're different.
Yep.
A lot of the same people and a lot of different people, and you can tell different stories and the same stories, but they're different places and for different things. And I've always wanted to do the podcast. Sean's the reason I did podcast. Sean was my first guest because he has done everything he could to get me to finally do this. Threatened me, encouraged me, shamed me, etc. So he had to be the first guest, and then he tried to take over my podcast the minute I started interviewing him. So had to put him in his place there as well. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think everybody has a story. Everybody has a story to tell, and everybody can be the host. And as Sean says, be the show, not the commercial.
Yeah. So, Troy, my favorite part of the episode is where we delve into more personal questions. So, a couple I'd like to ask you is, what did you want to do when you were growing up?
So, my first ambition in life was to be a cop. I grew up on chips and emergency, so it was either be a cop or be a paramedic. My dad was a paramedic in Vietnam, a lot of medical stuff in my family and stuff, and I was like, I want to be a cop. I had a girlfriend at 16, 17 that said, no. I thought she was my high school sweetheart. Said, no, you can't be a cop. It's too dangerous, icky. I'm from Miami. I'm third generation Miamian, so theoretically more dangerous in Miami for a cop. I doubt that's true. But anyway, and I also wanted to be a helicopter pilot. Specifically, I wanted to be a Coast Guard rescue helicopter pilot. And I'm kind of weak. I'm from Miami. I like warm water and warm weather. 3 times I went in to the Coast Guard to sign up. And all I said was, all I care about is a warm water or a warm environment deployment. I cannot go to Alaska. I cannot go to the Great Lakes. I cannot go to Maine. Please, I will sign up. I had good scores on the ASVAB. I probably could have been a helicopter pilot. And they said, basically, whatever we tell you is what you do. There are no promises and there are no guarantees, and you're going to go wherever the computer spits out. And I was like, so I was a wimp and wouldn't sign up because of that reason. I'm actually the first man that we know of in the history of my family not to go in the military. So big military family background, but I let that get a hold of me. So I went to culinary school at 17. Yeah, just about halfway through 17 to 18 years old, I went to culinary school and said, I'll be a chef. Because I wanted to own a restaurant. Everybody wants to own a restaurant. So my dad's construction company built bars, nightclubs, and restaurants. And so I grew up on the construction side of a bar, restaurant, and nightclub. And so that connection already existed. And when I wasn't going to go those hero routes or whatever you want to call those, I was like, I'll be a chef and I'll open my own restaurant at some point. And that's how this silly 32-year career got started.
Okay, given Pepper Lunch being international, such an international presence, I'm assuming you've done some international travel. What's your favorite country?
Oh, man. The lots of them that I've never been to. Haven't been to Australia, can't wait, right? Look, I've actually been a scuba diver since I was 9 years old. I used to be co-owner of the largest dive travel, adventure travel business in the U.S. I've been a lot of places. I've been very, very fortunate in my life to do a lot of tropical and cold water and other silly things. But there's no direct answer. I will tell you that today, if you said, here's a ticket to anywhere in the world, it would be a toss up between Fiji and Tokyo. And I say Tokyo as a gateway to the rest of Japan. I really want to spend time in Kyoto, Osaka, Okinawa, etc. So even Hokkaido and places like that. So I really, really love the Japanese culture, the food. I'm a massive foodie, and there's just no place on the planet like Tokyo and the rest of Japan for food. So Fiji, because I love tropical warm water diving. It's the best in the world. It's the friendliest people competing with Japan. And then they flip that coin, and I'll be just as happy if I land in Tokyo. Which, yes, I get to go a lot. It's part of the job. It's part of the leadership role of having to be there for meetings and board meetings and such. So yeah, flip that coin. I'm happy either way.
Yeah, no, Tokyo is a great city, and the one place I was fortunate to get to go there when I was at Hard Rock, we were doing a Motley Crue sponsored tour.
Oh my
Just
god!
if you can, put Hiroshima
Oh
on the
yeah,
list.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's one of those I didn't know how I was going to feel, but the job they do in just presenting,
Yeah, I've
obviously,
heard that.
we know what happened, but
I've heard that.
their push is we can't ever let this happen again, and they do
Right.
such a phenomenal job. And it was something I didn't think I'd ever get there, but did, and it is well worth the trip if you
Yeah,
get
I
a chance to
appreciate
travel
that.
throughout the country.
Yeah, we might be taking the family and doing a bit of a tour around the country in December this year, depending on how things lay with opening stores and stuff. But it's on the bucket list to get around and basically try to see the whole country. Right? Bullet trains are great.
Yeah,
You can get anywhere in
yes,
2 hours on a bullet train.
yeah. Okay, what's something that most people don't know about you?
Oh man, it's gotten out lately, but I'll stick with because every audience is different. I When I went to culinary school, I also went to maritime school. That girlfriend's dad owned a 72-foot sport fish yacht, and I took a great interest in it. I grew up on boats and spent a lot of time in the Caribbean in my life, and I just wanted to be able to be a captain and sort of have that ability and have that credential. And so I actually dabbled as a second job, as a side career, as a very strong side hustle for many, many years, really for about 18 years as a captain. So I would do cash captaining where I would just do day boat, take somebody out on their yacht for the day or the weekend or something. And I did end up spending a little time when I lived in the Caribbean doing a new resort build out. I did spend a lot of time on some of the 10 largest yachts in the world. So I worked for a couple of months every year for 3 years for Paul Allen on the 10th largest yacht in the world, Octopus, and I worked for the Wexner family for a couple of seasons in the Caribbean. So I was chief navigator. I happened to just have a really keen knowledge of the weather and the seas and the docking around the Caribbean islands, and so those were my summer vacation. I'd go and get on a yacht for 3, 4, 5 months and be a part of those crews, and just a whole different world. But yeah, most people don't know. So you could consider me a super yacht captain. I've captained up to 120-foot yacht myself, and I've been on crews of up to 410-foot yachts. So I've been in the wheelhouse of 410-foot yachts. So yeah, that most people don't know that's like this whole other life, that second life, this two-faced Troy that people don't know about exists.
Well, so you sort of lived your Coast Guard dream. You just
I
made
did.
sure
I
you
found a
stayed
way to
in
get on the water.
you
You
found a
pay
way
a
to
lot
get
of
on the
money, by the
water
way.
in warm places,
Yeah.
and probably a lot safer and a lot more enjoyable
Well,
than.
people ask why did I stop doing that, or why didn't I do that as a full-time career? And there are a lot of seasoned captains that are my age that still do that. It's sort of like being in the Navy. You're gone, and you may be gone 3 months a year at a time, 6 months at a time. Some of these guys will work 6 months, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months, and then get 3 months off. Or it's that kind of thing. And so it's very difficult and not super conducive to as you age, having family and settling down and sort of doing that thing. It is a young person's life for sure, and so that's why you see these shows and you see these documentaries and things. It's a lot of really young people, and then you have a couple seasoned old dudes that kind of run the show. So yeah, it's just you sort of age out of it and take a path, whatever that is. And not all people do that. There's you can have a great life in the super yacht world, or and by the way, a cruise ship. I couldn't even imagine moving cruise ships and big container ships. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah, no, definitely that's the first I've had. So that was a great story and tidbit of, something that was not able to find in any of my, research.
Yeah, I don't
before
really. Yeah,
discussion.
it's come up in a couple of podcasts a couple of times, but basically it's that question. It's the answer I have for that question. So when it gets asked, I come out with it. But I'm not out here walking around with my captain's uniform on necessarily.
Yeah. Well, Troy, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's episode. But thank you so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed our discussion today.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for having me. Great to be with you. Good luck on the show, and I'll be an avid listener, I assure you.
Okay, well, thank you. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. And here's to celebrating the industry we love and serve. Until next time, stay hungry for success.